The Criminal Investigation Division ultimately took over the investigation related to this case. The nominees for this award are members of the Patrol Division that responded initially to a significant violent assault. On August 28, 2015, Frederick police officers responded to the 1200 block of Albany Court for a reported assault. Officers arrived and located two victims inside an apartment, both suffering from significant wounds related to a machete attack. One victim, a male victim, was suffering from significant life-threatening injuries. Officers acted quickly in this case, using a tourniquet and occlusive bandage to provide necessary medical care to the male victim. This care was later deemed necessary to save the life of this male victim. Officers worked as a team to provide care to this victim. This victim was ultimately transported to a local trauma center where he recovered from his injuries. Again, without the life-saving efforts of these officers, it's likely the victim would not have survived this assault. On February 4, 2015, Frederick police officers responded to the Frederick High School campus for a school shooting. Two victims were located on scene who were later transported to a trauma center for treatment of their injuries. The Criminal Investigation Division was called upon to investigate this incident. The scene itself was vast and included hundreds of potential witnesses. Detectives responded to the scene and immediately began an investigation. Investigations such as this require the entire division working together as a team to accomplish the mission. In this case, that included the investigation section, the crime scene unit, the victim services unit, and crime analysts. This was the first and hopefully the last school shooting incident to occur in Frederick. Team members knew immediately the solving of this case was paramount to restoring a sense of security in the community. Team members worked non-stop over the next several weeks on this case to identify two suspects. In March of 2015, the Frederick County Grand Jury indicted two suspects in this case on charges relating to this shooting. As a result of the ongoing investigation, these two defendants ultimately pled guilty to the crimes associated with this case. This investigation caused significant life changes to members of the Criminal Investigation Division. Personal sacrifices and family sacrifices made allowed members to work around the clock on this case to bring the case to resolution. This includes members conducting hundreds of interviews, reviewing hours of video footage, processing numerous crime scenes, authoring search and seizure warrants, executing search and seizure warrants, and ultimately apprehending the suspects. Detectives determined that the suspects and victims in this case were known to one another prior to the assault. Actually, both suspects and victims were members of rival groups in the city of Frederick. Cases involving these two groups historically are very difficult to investigate and very difficult to solve. Due to the hard work and dedication by the team on this case was able to be solved in a little less than 6 weeks. This is outstanding performance by all team members and a dedication to this job.
Officer Michael Figgins is an officer who works in my unit, and he is our PAL coordinator. PAL stands for Police Activities League, and it's just a program to get the kids involved, to get them interacting with kids their age. And it's not just sports related, it's not just fun and games, it's a chance for them to learn and just see the importance of being committed and being responsible. Mike's job is one that a lot of, especially newer officers, maybe wouldn't see as normal police work. And it's not lock them up and drive fast and that kind of thing. He's dealing with young kids that need more attention. And so when Mike gets involved with these camps, he's trying to help these kids, not just for now, but for in the future. This past summer in July, there was a camp that a 14-year-old in Lucas Village wanted to go to this camp. But his parents were going out of town for the week, and it looked like he wasn't going to be able to go. Mike talked to his parents. They didn't really want to leave the child in the apartment by himself for a week. So Mike had the idea that the kid could stay with him for the week. Most police officers, people think about the effect that you have on the public or what you're dealing with is more immediate. You're dealing with incidents that are happening right now, and you deal with that incident and then you move on. Mike's impact is much more long-standing. He's dealing with kids when they're young. He gets them in the programs involved with the education, with high school. He sees these kids as they grow up and is hopefully building their confidence and their commitment to become, important parts of the citizens of Frederick. And as he sees them grow, he can see the improvements, he can see them develop, as opposed to a normal, police officer who deals with an incident and may never see that person again.
Detective Garcia was nominated this year for the Officer of the Year award based on his performance in 2015. Detective Garcia is a 12-year veteran of the Frederick Police Department, and he's currently assigned to the Violent Crime Unit of the Criminal Investigation Division. In 2015, he had what I would call a breakout year in police work. Detective Garcia was one of the investigators assigned to the Frederick High School shooting. As a result of the work on this case, 2 suspects were later charged and both pled guilty to the crimes associated with this case. In addition to that case, Detective Garcia was also tasked with the homicide of Gloria Watson on Heather Ridge Drive. This was a violent homicide case that Detective Garcia worked with a tenacity that is admirable of detectives. Detective Garcia's tenacity in this case led to the identification of the suspect and ultimately the charging of the suspect in that case. Detective Garcia was also able to link that suspect to another previous assault that had previously gone unsolved. 2 investigations such as those can typically overwhelm a detective's caseload. Detective Garcia, in addition to those cases, also investigated several violent street assaults involving a violent street gang known as MS-13. Detective Garcia's work in these cases also led to charging of several suspects related to the MS-13 assaults. As a result of those investigations and the charging of those suspects, overall gang crime related to MS-13 has seen a significant decrease thanks to Detective Garcia. As one of the senior violent crime detectives in CID, George is often sought out to mentor young detectives. His insight and skills in interview, interrogation, polygraph, or crime scene investigation are paramount to developing young detectives.
The main thing that probably makes Tommy unique is his loyalty. He's a very down-to-earth person and does his job in that manner and treats his fellow workers and all people in that manner. The truly remarkable thing that Tommy has done that extends from that loyalty came as a result of a tragedy to our Brunswick Police Department family. We suffered the loss of Sergeant James Moxley last July 1. He was only 41 years old and passed with a heart attack. And Tommy was a very good friend, colleague, and officer for Sergeant Moxley on Patrol Team A. And Tommy was able to, even as a young man, put himself in a position to become more of a leader than just an officer at that time. Again, he and Sergeant Moxley were very close personally, but they had a lot of respect for one another professionally. And it was a huge loss to us, being only, at that time, a 12-man department. Tommy's impact on others in the department, particularly a younger officer that was with us at the time, was one of being virtually a big brother, uncle, whatever you want to refer to it as, but he, again, he really became something more than he was before to these other people. From my perspective as the Assistant Chief of Police, he certainly stepped up when we needed to have someone take on that role, and it's certainly appreciated by the Chief of Police, Milt Fretch, myself, and everyone at the department and the city.
Corporal Dave Ensor is one of the top deputies in the sheriff's office. Even as a DFC, he was an informal leader. He took it upon himself to help train everybody on the team, get people up to speed if he saw somebody who could improve in an area.
Dave has a positive attitude, comes to work with the plan to accomplish the goals of the agency every day, make sure that people go home safely.
It was August 1st, and this was kind of in the wake of the Freddie Gray violence in Baltimore, and we got a call for a gentleman in the middle of the street who was naked and shouting and beating on cars. Deputy Ensor was the first one on scene, and the first thought of everybody who got there is this guy's on something. Turns out he was on PCP. People on PCP notoriously hard to get control of. They're impervious to pain. They sometimes have superhuman strength. I had noticed at least 2 people on each side of the street filming and thought this had the potential to be really bad even if we didn't do anything wrong. If we had to use a lot of force to get control of this guy, as we mentioned, very large guy. And he's got a fighting stance and moves around, and Dave yells at him, "All right, soldier, give me some push-ups." And the guy immediately hops down on the ground, and he says, "Down on the ground, give me some." And the guy, as soon as he goes down, Dave and another deputy move in, grab his arms, put him behind. So what had the potential to be a real public relations nightmare, even if we did nothing wrong, turned out to be kind of a public relations coup, because we took this very large gentleman into custody without hurting him.
Specifically, I know there were 2 incidents when he worked under me where he responded to, I think they were both theft calls, but he responded to calls for service where kids were involved, young kids under the age of 5, and one time was just 1 child, the other time was 2. The parents actually were charged and taken to jail, and Dave took it upon himself to take those children to go get them something to eat and then take them back to the sheriff's office and sit with them and stay with them until somebody else could come pick them up. So it was important to him that the children had a good, positive interaction with the police and that they were safe. There were numerous people that recommended Dave for this award. Not only did Sergeant Grunwell and myself, but Sergeant Packard, who's in charge of him on the Special Services team, and then several other supervisors, corporals alone. And there were deputies that also agreed that he's definitely a candidate and he well deserved this award.
Dana Hubble is a courthouse deputy sergeant with the court security unit, which is under my command. He is a supervisor of that unit. Dana has 26 years of experience with the sheriff's office. He served as a constable, he served as a corrections officer, he served in the courthouse deputy capacity. He rose through the ranks to attain the rank of sergeant in that unit and supervise that unit. His years of experience, his wealth of knowledge, institutional knowledge, his ability to problem solve. He's unflappable when it comes to multiple high-stress incidents. At the same time, he can sort through them and find a positive outcome. It's just a very valuable asset. I've had this command for almost 3 years now, and every day he comes in as professional. He has the largest unit in the sheriff's office. There's 22 personnel in this unit. It's a mixture of sworn and civilian personnel. and he runs it all. He has the daily duties of every other supervisor, which includes scheduling, discipline, leave approval, timesheet approval, assignments for the day, making sure all the courts are covered, the doors are covered. But in addition to all that, he's also responsible for some of the most sensitive equipment we have there. The control access system he's responsible for, which controls all the doors. He's responsible for all the camera systems. We have over 100 cameras in the building and increasing, and they're on multiple platforms. He has to be adept at all those. He has very good IT skills. He can solve most of our computer problems, which are above and beyond his job description. And he's a problem solver. One of our old systems went down, and instead of waiting for a service call for 2 weeks, he took it upon himself to rewire over 100 inputs for cameras onto alternative sources so that we could still view our cameras. He's very creative. He saw that the control center, which is quite a task to handle, was not suited for one person to handle well, so he totally redesigned it. He conceptualized it in his brain. He got me to approve it. We got the funding for it. And he even came in with maintenance on his own time on the weekends to wire everything up, and it's a much more user-friendly space now that one person actually can't handle. So those are just examples of what he does on a daily basis. As I said, he's a non-sworn person in charge of some sworn personnel, and he gets adherence and deference due to his years of experience and the way he does conduct himself.
As a patrol supervisor, I have the honor of working with these ladies every day in and day out in patrol functions and facets. They're our front desk, our front line to our citizens and our deputies. Our police information specialist unit is unique in that they handle complaints, compliments from our citizens. They work with citizens that come into our office on a regular basis. They process all the warrants for the sheriff's office. They handle all of the questions and services that the deputies need on a routine basis. They answer the radio also when patrol deputies contact them, and all of our peace and protective orders, which we have a lot in the county. One of our police information specialists is responsible for that entire process. The police information specialists support more than 270 people that work for our agency. And in addition to that, the citizens that come into our office, they're the first line, the front line, and they're often overlooked because they're not in the public's eye. However, we appreciate everything that they do for us. On a personal level, I was honored to work with the police information specialist while I was a patrol supervisor and also in my patrol capacity for the last 13 years. And these ladies do an impeccable job in anything that we ask them to do. They're very supportive. Anything we need, we call them, and they have an answer for us within moments, and they do it with a smile. They're wonderful people, and we appreciate their support.
When you become a member of the resident deputy program, there's 3 towns, Middletown, Myersville, and Emmitsburg. And each of these deputies that are assigned to are contract out through the sheriff's office but work for the town. So the town pays for their salary, their equipment, their leave, everything that goes along associated with the program. However, with one sergeant overseeing 6 individuals, they have to be somewhat picked to do the job on their own. And by that I mean that with lack of little supervision, they have to understand that they have a job to do, they go out and do that job. When I think about Ben, I think about, okay, who can I put up in Emmitsburg that's going to do the job and do it well with little or no supervision and can basically make decisions on his own and the right decisions, and is a true representative of not only the Frederick County Sheriff's Office but the deputies that are also assigned to the program. Ben goes above and beyond what I ask and task him to do on a normal basis. He is out there in the community, he is meeting the community members, he's meeting the town officials, and he's basically representing the agency well when he does that program. As far as the life-saving award, December 2nd of last year, the Fire and Rescue Department put out a call for service for possible smoke investigation in the area of Paul's Pit Stop, which is in Emmitsburg, Maryland. DFC White House is assigned to Emmitsburg, Maryland as a resident deputy. He searched the area and located a female that was yelling and screaming that there was a man trapped in one of the apartment buildings that's attached to Paul's Pit Stop, which is a liquor store in Emmitsburg. DFC White House entered the building prior to the fire and rescue department's arrival, was unable to locate anybody the first sweep he went through, went back outside to gain some fresh air due to the amount of smoke that was coming from the fire inside the building. Went back and located a handicapped individual that was stuck in his apartment. He was able to pick up the handicapped gentleman and carry him outside of the burning building, which fire and rescue later said saved his life. At any given day as police officers, we never know what we're up against. One minute we can be doing a complete report on the computer, and the next minute you're running into a burning building. Albeit we're not firefighters, we're not trained to do that type of job. And as much as I was listening to the radio that day hoping that Ben didn't go in that building, I knew Ben was going to go in that building. That's what we do. This is a calling. We don't do this job for monetary funds, and some of you have a lifelong story of wanting to do it, but you do it because there's a calling. And the fact that Ben was there, he was at the right spot at the right time, he didn't hesitate, and because of his lack of hesitation, he saved a man's life.
On October 18th, I was called to a local hotel in reference to basically a welfare check of a juvenile. Turned out to be an 11-year-old male. And I quickly realized that the juvenile was not being cared for. His mother had a drug addiction problem, was suffering from some mental health issues. And there was a lot of pretty alarming circumstances that were going on in the room, and a lot of things that this 11-year-old was dealing with. I called Corporal Ensor there to help me because I needed her to assist in having the mother transported to the hospital while we tried to work with CPS to find somewhere for this child to go. I briefed her and filled her in on what was going on. She looked at the juvenile. He wasn't very well dressed. He wasn't dressed for the elements. And in particular, he had a pair of boots that were probably 2 sizes too big for him and full of holes and things of that nature. So we kind of went our separate ways, and Corporal Ensor went and made sure the lady was transported to the hospital, and I took the juvenile with me. We headed back to our headquarters where we were planning to meet Child Protective Services. And we stopped at Sheetz along the way after the juvenile said he was hungry and he wanted a hot dog. So we stopped at Sheetz to get a hot dog. It was kind of the best I could do at that time of night, I guess. And he asked me inside if he could have a Gatorade. And he asked me hesitantly. He didn't want to ask. And I said, yeah, you can have a Gatorade. And he kind of got a shocked look about his face and told me that he typically wasn't allowed to have Gatorade because it was too expensive. So shortly after getting back to our headquarters, Corporal Ensor came in and she had a bag, and I could tell that there was a shoebox in it. And she handed it to the little boy, and he opened it up, and Corporal Ensor, in her travels back to our headquarters, had stopped and bought him a brand new pair of tennis shoes, bright orange tennis shoes. You can't miss them. So the look on the child's face was priceless. I'm not sure I could put into words, how much that meant to him. And me feeling good about myself for buying him a Gatorade was quickly overshadowed by Corporal Ensor's brand new pair of Nike sneakers. This is just an example of the impact that Corporal Ensor, Amanda, I call her Mandy, has had on others in the community in which we serve. I think it's important. Mandy's not the type that wants recognition for things, and I'm sure she didn't do this for any kind of recognition, but she has a good heart, and this certainly showed it in this instance.
Firefighter Phil Gamble is unique because of his overall commitment to the department, his community, his family, and his business. He's always outgoing, humble, understanding, and always willing to take the extra training, go the extra mile, and do the unthinkable. Phil recently was involved in a motorcycle accident with his wife, which resulted in much injury to his wife. During that time, Phil found it upon himself to not only raise his children, run his business, be active in his church, and also kept a very active commitment to the volunteer fire department. And he never took time during his own personal hardship to take time away from his commitment to his community and all the aforementioned items. Phil's had a great impact on our department. He serves as a mentor as he rises through the ranks and gets more time on the job in the department. He's always there for people in their times of personal hardship. Some examples will be he's went and sat with members that are sick or injured at the hospital, taking time away from his life and his job. Phil's also been there when people are having a bad day for a shoulder to lean on, and he just brings a constant positive presence to the station.
Nathan was assigned to us out of recruit class number 17 to the Myersville Fire Station. He was assigned as the probationary firefighter medic, and I was assigned as his mentor to the shift. Nathan came to us with a work ethic that really surprised me. Came to work every day, did his job, did what he was told to do, didn't ask questions, just did his job. And I really thought that was unique for an individual new to a group of people that he'd never worked with before. Someone who had a little bit of background, but in one area, but not so much in another. He really showed that willingness to want to learn more, and that really impressed me. I would say Nathan's impact was really on our shift. He really made us all work well together. Just filling in different jobs around the fire station, things that he would do. We would all pitch in to help, and just his work ethic was really impressive.
I know Chris Demopoulos. I had the pleasure of working with him for this past year on the shift together at Station 3 on A shift. I've known him for a handful of years prior to, just working overtime or working trades, taking classes together and stuff like that. Chris is a very unique firefighter, a very unique person, a unique employee for a lot of different reasons. Mainly, he is extremely helpful to anybody, no matter what their role is, from the supervisor level all the way down to a probationary firefighter level. He is accountable, he's reliable. From the lieutenant's aspect, they can count on him to lead a drill, they can count on him to be in charge of driver's training, they can count on him to lead a shift, and then all the way down to a rookie, they can count on Chris to teach them, to mentor them, to be patient while showing them new things, whether it's how to use a tool, how to stretch a cross lay. No matter what role he is acting in, he does it with professionalism. He does it, with a lot of passion, and always puts a lot of pride into his work. This past, just within the last 2 years, he's gone through 2 promotional processes, process for technician and a process for lieutenant, where he was successfully able to pass both of those processes. And he takes all of his knowledge and all of his skill, and he's extremely generous with that knowledge and those skills, and he is always willing to help anybody at any time. He'll drop what he's doing and look to assist somebody in any way, and it's all the time.
Of all the supervisors within the county, there's fire supervisors, there's EMS supervisors. The fire side, they're responsible for a single shift within a firehouse, so they might have 2 to 7 people. But the EMS supervisor position, is responsible for the entire county, and it's just a huge responsibility. For one person, Jesse, furthermore goes above and beyond for the simple fact that he takes extra time to do training, send out emails, further educate. He just seems to do more than what the position requires. Just the way he talks to people, he really seems to calm situations down. He knows a vast amount of skill and knowledge when it comes to the EMS system, how to do things. And I mean, just a simple accomplishment is his ability to calm a situation. Yeah, a specific incident that I really realized that Jesse was a phenomenal supervisor was had a call. It was a high stress situation, whereas a premature birth occurred prior to EMS arrival. I was the medic on the call. And when I arrived, there was a blue, less than 2-pound baby, unresponsive. We did CPR for about 20 minutes. And while people say that I had the situation calm and, under control, I was like that duck on the water with my feet paddling as fast as possible underneath. And when Jesse got there, it just seemed to relax the situation a lot. And the outcome of the call was we got the baby back, and healthy baby at this time. He not only wants to educate and wants his employees to be better, he makes the employees want themselves to be better. So just the simple way that he goes about doing things just kind of pushes to better ourselves.
The incident that I would like to nominate for the Life Saving Award happened in December 2015. Company 1 units, along with Medic 1 and EMS duty officer, were dispatched to a possible stab patient in front of a business on Route 40. The first arriving units arrived on scene. They found 2 patients at that time that had been stabbed. One patient was less critical. The patient did have a stab wound to his left shoulder. Still slightly bleeding, but was controlled with 1 crew. The second patient, however, was severely critical. He had sustained a stab wound to the left side of his neck, just below his left ear. The patient was slightly unresponsive, not acting appropriately, and also being slightly combative towards the EMS crew upon arrival. The bad part about this patient was he was actively bleeding profusely from his neck and potentially bleeding out. It was very difficult initially for these guys because as they tried to initiate a procedure to stop the bleeding, the patient became more combative, which would either tear away the bandages or fight the team members, enabling them not to control the bleeding. The patient was eventually moved back into the ambulance where the patient's airway was controlled because he was not breathing appropriately at the time. He had lost enough blood that it was affecting his airway. They intubated the patient. That's where they put a tube in his lungs and were breathing for him. They were able to control the bleeding with some of the new materials we carry in Frederick County with bandages that include clotting material. And also, we actually had one of the providers go above and beyond where he actually had to stick his fingers into the wound to put pressure on the artery that was bleeding to stop it and control the bleeding. They did transport the patient all the way to the hospital successfully. The patient was expedited into the operating room at Frederick Memorial where the arterial vessel was fixed in his neck. Later, we found out that the surgeon from the OR did come back with a note to the EMS crew stating how well of a job they had done, and if it really was not for them going above and beyond to work as well as they did together and think outside of the box, that this patient probably would not have survived his injuries. I wanted to nominate this crew because initially they thought they were going to a single patient. They arrived to have 2 patients, 1 critical, 1 serious. They worked with great cohesion as a group. They handled the situation immediately and without flaws. They stepped outside of their normal everyday procedures and did what had to be done for this patient.
I nominated the group for Outstanding Performance of the Year based on their actions and outstanding performance at a boat incident on Lake Linganore Dam. Units were dispatched for the report of a boat over the dam in Lake Linganore on a Saturday evening at around 6:30 p.m. Upon initial response of the fire and rescue units, reports were given by Frederick Emergency Communications that stated that they had a confirmed boat over the breast of the dam with up to 9 people in the water. First arriving sheriff's office confirmed the report and that they had the same amount of victims in the water. Immediately following them were the units from Newmarket Fire Company, arrived on the scene and did a quick scene size up and began to initiate a rescue plan. Immediately the team found that there was a victim clinging to a rocks, clinging for her life, and they had to act fastly or she was going to become a victim to the incident. Several members from Newmarket Fire Company and the Frederick County Sheriff's Office went above and beyond the call to rescue her from the rocks. Simultaneously, while that was happening, members from the Junior Fire Company boat team removed 4 victims from a shoreline and ferried them across to safety. MSP helicopter Trooper 3 was involved in removing, using their basket and hoist system, 3 victims that were stranded on logs in the middle of the spillway of the dam. The whole incident, I felt, deserved recognition because it appeared to me like something out of a movie, something the unthinkable, that you would, on a Saturday evening on the tail end of a storm, that you would be dispatched for a water rescue assignment and arrive to find 9 total victims in the water on a pontoon boat that had went over the breast of the dam, all having various multitudes of rescue resources and rescue performances that needed to be done to effectively save their lives from becoming victims of the water and its raging waters that evening. Unfortunately, most water rescue events result in body recovery and loss of life. Fortunately, based on the responders' knowledge, skills, abilities, and bravery shown the night of the incident of Lake Linganore Dam, we resulted in having 8 rescues made that evening. Bucky has over 40 years fire service experience. He has a long tenure with the nation's capital Rescue Squad 1. He's got several awards for life-saving rescues, both on fire grounds and technical rescues. He's also been involved in several events with us that's been honored with unit citations. His knowledge, skills, ability, and experience sets him above others. Bucky, the night of the water rescue event in Lake Linganore, was the rescue operations commander. He not only performed outstanding rescue traits and performed under pressure, however, he ran the rescue operation, developing rescue plans for crews to execute throughout the night. I think he set the mark for the event, and he also put himself in great danger by being right on the water's edge to command the operation that Sergeant Zach Klein, Assistant Chief Matt Taves, and Deputy Ensor performed, which ended up saving the most critical patient from the incident. Bucky serves as a mentor in our department, being a chief level officer, both for junior officers and line officers, and for other members of the department. He's very compassionate and compelling to others' needs. He's always a shoulder for people to lean on and a mentor for them to look up to with his years of experience and knowledge. I nominated Deputy Ensor, Firefighter Taves, and Sergeant Klein for the Gold Medal of Valor based on their performance at the Lake Linganore Dam rescue. These individuals, starting with Deputy Ensor, went above and beyond the call and put themselves in great personal risk to save a life of a stranded young lady on the rocks in raging waters. Upon the first arriving Sheriff's Office units, Deputy Ensor utilized his rope throw bag and his personal flotation device that he had in his car and placed himself in great risk and harm's way to establish contact with which seemed to be the most imminent rescue needing to be made. With limited training and outside of the Sheriff's Office scope of performance, Deputy Ensor used good common sense and good size-up skills and established contact with the individual via the rope bag, which, based on his actions, probably resulted in one of the main reasons why we had a viable patient and were able to make a rescue for that young lady. Followed by that, Sergeant Zach Klein and firefighter Matt Taves off of Newmarket Fire Company's boat team dressed out in their water rescue PPE, and then it was deemed that they needed to enter the raging waters after a day's storm over top the dam to make a live bait rescue of the victim. Between Taves, Klein, and Ensor, they worked together under the command of Assistant Chief Kennedy to execute a rescue with 2 rescuers in the water and Deputy Ensor controlling a rope system as a pendulum point to ferry the victim, who had a throw ring around her, down to the waiting rescuers. When most individuals would second guess or take a second look at the environment that Ensor, Klein, and Taves operated in that evening, those 3 individuals, without hesitation, placed themselves in harm's way to make the rescue of the citizen in need.